the entire planet stops. Billions of people screaming, crying, draped in flags for a country they've never visited. Your coworkers are wearing jerseys. Your group chat is exploding. Strangers are hugging strangers because 22 people kicked a ball the right way. And you just don't care. Not even a little. Your friends think you're pretending. Your family thinks you're being difficult. But what if your brain is actually protecting you from something they can't see? What if the people losing their minds over the World Cup are running on autopilot, and you're the one who's awake? Today, we're diving into the psychology of people who feel absolutely nothing during the biggest sporting event on Earth. And I'm warning you right now, this goes way deeper than "I just don't like soccer." We're talking tribal programming, dopamine addiction, identity construction, and a very uncomfortable truth about why billions of people emotionally collapse over a game that has zero impact on their actual lives. Stay with me, because by the end, you're gonna see the World Cup-obsessed people around you completely differently. Here's what nobody admits. The World Cup isn't really about soccer. It's about belonging. For 2 weeks, the entire world divides into tribes. You're suddenly part of something massive, something ancient, something that makes you feel like you matter. Your country becomes your identity. Your team becomes your family. And that game, that's your shared religion. Neuroscience shows that when people watch their national team, their brains release oxytocin, the bonding hormone, the same chemical that makes you love your actual family. Their brains literally trick them into thinking these millionaire athletes represent them. But here's where it gets interesting. People who don't care about the World Cup, their brains don't fall for it. And there's a reason. Let's start with the obvious question. Why do so many people care so much? Humans are hardwired for tribalism. For hundreds of thousands of years, your survival depended on being part of a group. Your tribe protected you from predators, helped you hunt, kept you alive. The World Cup is just ancient tribal warfare with better production value. When someone watches their country play, they're not just watching soccer, they're reliving every evolutionary instinct that kept their ancestors alive. Us versus them, win or die. Except now, nobody actually dies. They just post angry tweets. But people who don't care about the World Cup often have what psychologists call lower tribal instincts. Their identity isn't wrapped up in group membership. They're more individualistic. They don't need to belong to something massive to feel complete. And there's actual research on this. A 2019 study found that people with low sports interest showed significantly less us versus them thinking. Translation? They don't automatically hate Argentina just because they're rooting for France. Their brains don't need an enemy to feel alive. But wait, because what's happening in the brain of a World Cup fanatic is legitimately concerning. You know that feeling when you're about to open a text from your crush? That anticipation, that anxiety? That's dopamine. World Cup fans get the same neurological hit every single minute of the game. Every pass, every shot, every near miss, constant microdoses of anticipation and reward. Studies using fMRI scans show that watching your team activates the exact same reward centers as gambling, as scrolling social media, as other highly addictive activities.
And here's the part that should terrify you. The uncertainty is what makes it so powerful. You don't know if your team will win. That unpredictability keeps the dopamine flowing. It's called intermittent reinforcement, the most addictive reward schedule known to psychology. The same mechanism that makes slot machines destroy lives. Your brain doesn't care that you're watching strangers kick a ball. It just knows it wants more dopamine, and it will do anything to get it. People who don't care about the World Cup, their dopamine systems simply aren't triggered by vicarious competition, and this might actually be genetic. Research from the University of Chicago suggests that variations in dopamine receptor genes can predict how much someone cares about spectator sports. Think about that. Your complete indifference to whether Brazil wins or loses might literally be in your DNA. You're not being contrarian, you're being biochemically honest. But there's another layer that nobody talks about. World Cup fans experience something psychologists call burgeoning, basking in reflected glory. When their country wins, they say, "We won." When their country loses, "They lost." Notice the pronoun switch. It's a psychological defense mechanism. They absorb victories but deflect defeats. People who don't obsess over the World Cup don't do this. They're more consistent in their self-concept. They don't need external victories to feel successful. Their self-esteem doesn't rise and fall based on whether Messi scored a penalty. And honestly, that's a superpower. Because while everyone else is riding an emotional roller coaster controlled by strangers, they're stable, grounded, present in their own lives. Now here's something that sounds contradictory. World Cup fans often score higher on certain empathy measures. They practice caring deeply about other people's struggles, even if those people are strangers wearing their country's colors. So why don't non-World Cup people feel that same empathy for athletes? It's about empathy allocation. Everyone has a limited capacity for caring deeply about things. World Cup non-fans direct that empathy somewhere else. Social causes, personal relationships, creative projects, problems they can actually solve. A 2021 study found that people with low sports interest scored way higher in openness to experience, in appreciation for art, beauty, complexity. They're getting their emotional highs from music, from nature, from ideas that don't expire when the final whistle blows. Their brains are seeking the same thing: meaning, connection, transcendence. They're just finding it somewhere that doesn't require a stadium. And let's be brutally honest about something else. For some people, not caring about the World Cup is actually a quiet rebellion. Maybe they're tired of nationalism disguised as entertainment. Maybe they don't understand why grown adults emotionally collapse over a game that doesn't change their actual reality. Maybe they're allergic to performative belonging. Or maybe, just maybe, they realized something uncomfortable, that caring this much about something you can't control is a distraction from the things you can. Here's the part that explains everything. It comes down to how you experience meaning. World Cup fans find meaning in narrative, the underdog story, the redemption arc, the dynasty, the rivalry. It's compelling because it's unpredictable. Real-life drama with genuine stakes. People who don't care about the World Cup find that randomness meaningless. They think, why would I emotionally invest in an outcome I can't control, performed by people I don't know, in a game that doesn't affect my actual life? They're not wrong, but neither are World Cup fans. It's just two completely different approaches to the human need for story. One group finds epic narrative in a penalty shootout. The other finds it in a book, a relationship, a creative breakthrough, a scientific discovery. Here's what researchers call it: parasocial investment versus direct engagement. World Cup fans build one-sided relationships with teams and players. Non-World Cup people prefer investing emotional energy where there's actual reciprocity, where their care matters, where they're participants, not spectators. Neither is superior. They're just different strategies for navigating being human. Psychologist Mihaly Csikszentmihalyi, who studied flow states, found that those moments of complete absorption can be achieved through countless activities. For some, it's watching the World Cup. For others, it's literally anything else. And here's what's really interesting. People who don't obsess over the World Cup often report feeling more present in their own lives. They're not spending 3 hours experiencing someone else's struggle. They're engaged in their own. So what does all this mean? If you don't care about the World Cup, you're not missing some fundamental human experience. You're not broken. You're not boring. You're just wired differently. Your brain's reward system, your tribal instincts, your empathy allocation, they're all calibrated for depth over spectacle, for meaning over distraction. And that's not just okay, it might actually be an advantage. The next time someone asks, "Did you watch the game?" and you genuinely could not care less, remember this: you're not rejecting joy. You're just refusing to outsource it to strangers kicking a ball. You're playing a different game, one that might, just maybe, have higher stakes. the game of being fully present in your own life. If this resonated, you're definitely going to want to see why people who hate small talk aren't rude. They're protecting something most people never access. Click the video right here. And if content like this, psychology that actually explains why you feel different, matters to you, hit that subscribe button. Or better yet, it genuinely helps me keep making videos that explain the parts of you the world calls weird, but science calls fascinating. Thank you for watching. Now go enjoy your quiet weekend while everyone else screams at a screen.